This episode of St James's Pod is brought to you by Vixen Hair. The extension specialists have 2 locations here in Brisbane, as well as a mobile service. So if you're looking to achieve the hairdo of your dreams, look no further than vixenhair.com.au and tell them St James's Pod sent you. Enjoy the episode. And we're back at St James's Pod, and the lads are back at St James's Park. I'm joined by 3 co-hosts tonight, Alex, Pete and Tom. All managed to watch the game this time, so we're on to a good start. We've managed to find streams. Yeah?
Aye. It would have been Harry, but
it's a real shame we managed to watch the game.
And pretty wank, wasn't it?
Tom, you were at the game, weren't you?
I'm just a bad case for these games. I've seen some horrendous games this season. Despite the fact that we're doing so well, I'm picking some awful games to go and watch.
Yeah, the last one was the 3 points high. It's a cup game, mate.
It's a cup game. It's been that long.
Good stuff
It's
there.
been that long. I don't know how it works.
How football
Yeah,
works, Jen.
I think it's safe to say everyone's like buzzing to be watching the tune again after the World Cup break. But going into this game, trying to get our minds back into Newcastle United. Obviously, the Carabao Cup this year, there's been some massive upsets. So this was a huge opportunity, wasn't it? We're looking to get through this round into the quarterfinals.
Aye, for sure.
If you're looking at the teams that are left in, like you've obviously got Man City against Liverpool tomorrow. Man City, if they get through, are the only team that I'm scared of facing. Like, I think we'd have a good chance of beating anyone else in the competition at this point.
Scared though? Or just
Scared?
Scared or just
Before?
more weary? Because we're fucking...
Yeah, well, obviously,
We
like,
went toe-to-toe with them at St James's Park, so...
did I?
I'd rather City in the quarterfinal than have to play them over 2 legs in the semi-final.
Yeah.
If that's how it's going to land. But I'd say the same.
the team in the quarters as well.
Pep doesn't tend to have teams in the cups, though. He doesn't disrespect the Carabao Cup like a lot of the other Big Six do. Like, he always feels like a really strong side. Like, I expect to see like all the big dogs playing tomorrow. Like, especially if Haaland's rest.
Yeah, that's
He did say that.
Sorry, on the next lot of games playing now.
Yeah, they are.
Man United, Burnley.
There's
So this
3
is
games
Wednesday
on
night for
tonight.
everyone.
Which 3 is it? Charlton, Brighton, Man U, Burnley, and who else is playing?
Aye. Blackburn Forest, I believe, is one of them.
Oh, that could be a good one.
Aye.
So, talking about Newcastle going into this game then, we've had the long break because of the World Cup, but in terms of fitness and stuff, we were looking in pretty decent shape from the summer camp and the friendlies and stuff. But how were you feeling about, after watching them, how we were looking in terms of match sharpness? Because the fitness level seemed high, but we looked a little bit off the pace in terms of the passing and the final product in the last pre-friendly.
I think we looked sharp.
Yeah, like,
I was quite...
I think we did.
We didn't seem to stop...
Go on.
Sorry, we didn't seem to stop pressing the whole game. I know as poor as it was. I didn't think we stopped pressing. We looked sharp. I remember Eddie Howe said before the game that he wasn't going to use the cup game as like a stepping stone for fitness of getting back to the Prem. You take it seriously. He wanted the lads tip top for this game. Is this like obviously the first game back, but he wanted them firing straight away. And I thought we looked like we sort of were okay. It wasn't pretty to watch, but I thought in terms of I thought we dominated it. Most part of the game we dominated it, I think. But it was again our final third. I don't think Bournemouth gave away an inch. I know there was a couple of chances that we'll talk about later, but I thought they defended pretty well, considering how attacking we play. And I think that's what frustrated everyone, and how was the game actually that poor, or was it just the fact that every time we went out the attack, it fizzled into nothing because they defended well? But like, is in terms of shot fitness and that, I thought we were on it.
Yeah, for a team who have conceded a goal in every single away game this season, they actually look pretty solid.
New manager?
We did find it hard. Well, of course, new manager bounce. But you've still got the same players that they had. Like, obviously, January hasn't come yet. But yeah, like, whatever he's done to the team, he did make them look a lot more solid at the back.
Well, they definitely set up to play on the counter. They had plenty of pacey players out wide, and they did force us into making a few, like you say, some passes were a bit poor, possibly down like Trippier's side. I know we talked about his England form kind of forced him into being dropped because he looked a bit off it on his passing game, and looks like he's brought that back to some degree based on that performance against Bournemouth. But yeah, we just seem to be getting pulled down, like, blind corners, going down like the out, trying to go out wide, and then it would just been breaking down there, and then they would try and set up on a quick counter. And I was really impressed by Jadon Anthony. I thought he had a really good game, and very sharp. He had a really good run at one point where he took on a few players on the counter. I think credit in some respects to Bournemouth for the way they set up. They wanted to take it to pens and just chance their luck there rather than go for it in normal time. I think there was partly a little bit of us being a bit lackluster in terms of creating chances, but credit as well to Bournemouth for sticking to their game plan as well.
Yeah, the Bournemouth fans page, obviously you being at the ground, were they in full capacity? Because obviously the game got brought forward by the...
No, it was honestly, you could fit them in a taxi. It was there was like, I don't know, the half of like one sort of section was filled. Obviously, they normally get about 3 sections full on level 7, but they only had half of one of them in the end. But again, it's pretty hard like this time of year, and the distance they've got to travel and train strikes and everything. I can't blame the fans for not being there as well.
It's pretty poor form to change the date as well. Like, it wasn't even that much notice, was it?
Yeah, but it was to do with the NHS strike, wasn't it? There wasn't enough medical staff, and we know how many
paramedics.
Yeah, we know how many issues have been in the crowds of people having cardiac arrests and stuff like that. So, for the sake of a bit of travelling, it could have been someone's life. So you can't really, like you say, if it was for TV and stuff like that, you kick off. But you can't. Unfortunately, you can't really moan about it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think the paramedics were only responding to life-threatening injuries today.
Yeah.
So obviously, pulling them away for a football match is just all kinds of wrong. So it made sense to move it. Like,
yeah, hopefully the Bournemouth fans that couldn't, well, any fan I guess that couldn't make it, managed to sell the ticket or get a refund or something.
You'd like to think they get a refund,
but also the Bournemouth team themselves, they had a virus through the camp, didn't they? So they were missing quite a chunk of their squad.
Yeah, I was talking to Peter about this when the teams were announced, actually, that the manager had mentioned like 8 to 10 players or whatever had this virus midweek, and then expecting, as you said, the squad to be decimated. And then when I seen the lineups, it looked like pretty much as strong as they could put out. So I don't know. I don't know if he's using excuses because he mentioned it after the game in the post-match interview as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't see any player in the starting 11.
Lloyd Kelly had it.
So maybe just one or two there.
I think one or two, mate.
Yeah, and to be fair,
There
the fullbacks who had poor games for Bournemouth as well, so might have made a difference.
They might have had the virus as well and then been fit enough to play, but like not really at 100% or something like that. But
yeah, you never know.
We didn't really have any fresh injuries on our side, did we?
Well, we were coy, weren't we, about some of the fitness of players beforehand. Like, I was quite surprised Wilson was able to start based on the fact that there was so much talk of him not being fit enough and everything else, but he looked pretty sharp when he throughout the game, to be fair. So yeah, I think it was maybe a little bit of trying to keep our cards close to our chest. But then yeah, it was a very strong starting 11 that we put out there.
Yeah, were you surprised by how strong we went? Just more in terms of like attacking the cup, or did you expect a full strength team?
I would have expected a couple of maybe not as strong as that. Maybe Chris Wood to have started rather than Wilson potentially. And I was quite surprised to see as many of the all the players that went to the World Cup started the game. So that was a surprise. I know that I was listening to Pep talk about the Man City players who've been to the World Cup, and he reckons they're going to be miles ahead in terms of match fitness and everything than the rest of the players who were left behind. I had the opposite feeling that there may have been a little bit of a hangover from the World Cup for some of those players, and they may have to be eased back in, but no, they were all thrown in there, and to be fair to them, especially Bruno, they were properly on it.
Yeah, I think with our players though, obviously they didn't get that many minutes. I mean, Trippier got a couple of games, didn't he? But they were like the first two games, and then Bruno. I feel like Bruno's come back, and he's kind of inspired by his disappointment from the World Cup.
Oh, you'll have a point to prove.
Hopefully, yeah. And I seen on the socials and stuff, he was like, "Oh, I'm so happy to be back home" and stuff. Like, which is meant from Brazilian lad saying that coming back to the Newcastle.
Yeah.
I did kind of wonder before the game whether Karius would get a run out after his decent performance in the friendly, and Pope obviously just coming back. And then also I thought Matty Target might have got a game. Obviously he went with Burn instead, which is basically, like full strength Premier League side he went with. But it doesn't seem like he's going to use the cups to give rotation to the players who aren't getting in there in the Premier League, does it?
Is that not because it's still, again, me and Dawson will talk about this, I was like, it's still 6 days till the Prem game. So it's not like maybe if we had a Saturday game, cup game midweek, and then another Prem game at the weekend, that's when he might rotate it. But like the fact that he had he still got a full week before the Leicester game, so he didn't really need to rotate it. He might have done that purely to say, right, well, it's obviously going to be the team that's going to be starting on Boxing Day. So it's like, right, just to make sure everything's still ticking over, everything's still working, the connection's still there, which it looked like it 100% is. Even Sean Longstaff, he had a good game. He's still grafting away and stuff like that. So going back to what you were talking about before about how if you think it was going to be that strong a team, I agree with Paige. I thought Chris Wood would have started and Wilson would have had a bit of a rest. But I'm glad he went strong. Like you said, he's not shying away from the cups. He's taking it seriously. I mean, we say we take it seriously all the time, but never looks it. But now I think he's there's a strong belief. There's a strong belief through everyone Like, we know a couple of lads who, it's a bit ambitious, but they've already booked the hotels for London. So, like, with the belief's fully there. Like, I mean, we're into the quarters, we're still in the FA Cup, so
2 games to go.
Exactly, mate. It's we're sat third in the Prem. Everything's in our favour. We've got absolutely nothing to face here. Like,
yeah, like we were saying at the start as well, the draw. Well, we'll see who we get, obviously based on tonight's result, but it's a really good opportunity with who's left in there. So if we get a favourable draw in the quarters, then that booking might be looking like a wise idea.
This is it.
Let's jump into the actual game highlights then. So I'll go through what I marked down as I was watching it, and then anything else you guys want to chime in with. So the first thing I've noted is Shaw getting a head injury again. Seems to be just like he just wants one every game. And it was quite early on, wasn't it? It was it up against that Kiefer Moore, the Welsh player? And he just seemed
it was a bit,
smash him in the back of the head.
Yeah, it was a bit of a battle throughout the game, that one. Kiefer Moore came off with a few bumps and bruises himself as well. But it was a bit of a nasty one. But at the same time, it kind of it worked in our favour, weirdly.
They kind of were on a break, weren't they?
If it had just gone over to the left side of the box, then they would have had a clear sighted goal where, obviously by the new rules and stuff, the ref has to, pause the game if there's that head injury. But so it was a bit lucky, but yeah, it was obviously the right call to stop the game.
Yeah, that Moore had a great chance later in the game as well. That he just put wide. I thought he actually looked decent compared to how he looked in the Wales team. But I guess the whole Wales team looked pretty poor. Like, the next thing I've marked down is probably the biggest moment of the game, bar the goal, is Wilson's offside goal. Dorse, what are you saying on that one?
I would have liked to see a better camera angle, because when I was watching on my stream, you didn't really get a conclusive view whether you could see whether it hit Willock or not. Like, he's clearly offside, but it's just the argument whether he's interfering with play or not. Like, he sort of almost went for it, but like missed it. So you can understand why it's been ruled out, but yeah, it just seemed like a few of those little 50-50 calls went against her, which just built the frustration a little bit going into the second half, where there's a few of those where I've just been like, it could have been a goal, and I don't think there would have been too much argument from Bournemouth. Because there was one camera angle from like more behind the goal where it looked like Willock hadn't touched it, but again, it's one of those 50-50s that if it went against it, you probably would be a little bit frustrated, but I don't think you could rumble.
Well, there was no clue in the crowd what was going on. Obviously, VAR is not in action for the Carabao, but it wasn't made clear at all. It was like that the ref came over to the assistant. Neither of them seemed to commit to wanting to make a decision, it seemed, for ages. And then I thought it was something to do with a handball, by potentially Willock because he was on the ground. But yeah, I didn't actually know what the call was made for.
Well, that's what I said is when we're watching it, I was like, hang on a minute, like, the goal's gone. It must have been at least 10 seconds or so after everything had happened. Then the linesman put his flag up. I don't understand, what was the delay? Because Willock's on the ground.
I think
Willock's there. So what's he flagging for? Like, surely he knows. You can't sort of think and go, yeah, it might be offside there. I'll put my flag up. It's got to be, for me,
I think he was talked into it.
He must have been.
The Bournemouth players were straight onto him.
They're all pointed at Joe Willock, to be fair. So he might well have obstructed a defender or what. Like you said, there wasn't that many replays. So he could well have been offside. We don't know. In purely the fact of just interfering with play, interfering with defender, whatever. But the fact that the ref couldn't make his mind up, the linesman couldn't make his mind up, just shows in highlights how reliant on VAR refs are now, that they can't make their own mind up. Because they'd have just let that go, and then the ref would have, we'll have a look at that straight to VAR, and then they can make their mind up. Me and Dawson say this every single match we go to.
Just about to say
the linesmen do not flag at all. It's pointless them being there because they do not use their flag. The job they do is just irrelevant. Like they don't do a job. They'll flag for a throw in of who's had it, and even then, if it's tight enough, they'll look at the ref to make a mind up. It's
funny you say that because
I don't see the point. The
same linesman made like a little bit after that. He made it was for a throw in, and the ref pointed one way, linesman pointed the other. I was just like, you don't have a fucking clue what you're doing. Like neither of them two had a clue.
No.
I think he was the Bournemouth defender had talked the ref or the assistant into it and pointed it and because they didn't have conclusive evidence themselves, they were just like, all right, okay, we'll go with what they're saying.
It's such a get out of jail. It's such a get out of jail free card these days, Varley, because the linesman can just go once they have looked at it. The linesman and the ref can just go, "Was it me, lads? It was Stockley Park." That's their fucking job safe. You know what I mean? It's a joke. But then
did the ref talk to the linesman before he put his flag up?
I didn't say that.
No.
All it does, we're already celebrating in the corner. It's weird. It happened like 10 seconds after. Like Wilson was in the corner and he wasn't celebrating. He was like almost like half looking over, and he got interviewed about it, and he was saying, "I half wasn't sure, but I wasn't celebrating because it was my old team against that he scored against." But it seemed a long time before, as you said, they decided what they were even doing, whether they were going to give it or rule it out or what. Didn't have a clue.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying at the time, I think maybe the way he celebrated might have had a factor as well, because he kept looking. It's almost like signaling to the linesman,
like he knew.
I'm pretty sure I'm off, so yeah.
Wasn't convincing, was it?
No. But I think looking at the replays, like I think there was 2 decent angles on the thing I was watching. I'd say Willock didn't touch it, but the one of the defenders, like trying to get back at Wilson, was obstructed by the fact that Willock's like on the floor. So, like a little bit. I think if it's your team, like you want that ruled out. So
it could have gone either way. To be fair, I wasn't looking off because it didn't count. First thing I thought was he's obviously interfered with play, and he's on the floor amongst the defenders. The ball's fucking bounced around and fell to Wilson. So it's like, well, you can't really argue with it. Like, it'd be interesting to see the VAR angles if we had it, but we can't. So that's the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit harsh because he's on the floor, like, and he looks like he's trying to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And also, I think the main frustration, as you've all said, is the delay in ruling it out. We had a golden opportunity after that, though, with Miggy Almiron. Obviously, before the break, he's in fantastic form. I think he scored 8 so far this season. He carried on through the break and some of the friendlies we had and stuff. And then, unfortunately, it falls to his right foot. And he basically scuffs it, doesn't he?
Yeah, it wasn't his best, but I think that was always on that back post, Miggy coming in. It seemed like throughout the game, if ever we had it on that left side and we were whipping in crosses, like the Bournemouth defenders just seemed to like be sucked into the middle, and like there was always a man spare at the back post. So it seemed, and when it fell to Miggy like that, I was like, it had to be. But I think it might have just he had to readjust his body a little bit when the ball eventually came to him, and like you say, it landed on his right foot. So it wasn't his best moment, but other than that, he was still was
electric when he.
He
was all over the place. Like he looked very. He looked like he'd had a tube of blue Smarties because he was just wired. Like he was just fucking legging it everywhere. Like I don't know if it's because we've been watching England and we obviously we said this. It's like England's so slow and passing it on the back, whereas Newcastle's direct, and maybe it just looked like
impressing.
Maybe it looked like Miggy was just on one. Even Willock, to be fair, was driving the ball forward. Don't get us wrong, he wasn't fantastic, but he was. There was plenty running on that pitch, like.
And intricate play as well. Like Bruno was always looking to try and play like a little ball over the top of the full back for Miggy to run around the back of them, and trying little slide rule passes. Like you can just tell, the more games go on that those two are playing and they're in form.
Some of the link-up play was brilliant. Like
Trippier did a lovely one where he lofted it, almost like chipped it over the defender for Miggy. Absolutely lovely ball. I know his passing throughout the full game was slightly less than what we used to, but that one was fantastic. Just going back to Willock, Pete. Maxi comes on from in the second half. You weren't that praising of Willock in this game.
No, well, I watched him against in the friendly that game against I can't pronounce it. Rea Vallecano, was it Vallecano?
Vallecano.
And he didn't have a good game. He had a very poor game, to be honest. And he knew it. He was getting very frustrated. And I thought he wasn't doing it as wrong. He wasn't as bad yesterday, but I don't know. His running was good, but it was some of his passing was very off and just sloppy. And I think he was getting frustrated. There was one when I noticed it was like he was slipping a bit, and you can't really blame him for slipping over, but he just didn't look on point yesterday, and it's a shame because towards the break he was flying, like the last 2-3 games.
Yeah,
he was brilliant, like. But I'm sure it's there. Christ, it's just a little bit of rust. It's not. He didn't necessarily cost them the game or out like that. It was just a few sloppy passes, and he didn't look to his 100% best. But I think he knew that. He looked like he was getting frustrated by it.
Do you think the fact, obviously, Maxi comes on for him and then Joe Linton goes into the centre, do you think he feels Maxi breathing down his neck a bit for his spot in the team?
He will do. You can't not, to be fair. That's Maxi's policy. Maxi's a winger, a fucking rapid winger. So I don't. Is Joe Willock a winger? Like, he's not your.
No, but
in that position, is that where he sits? Like, I know he's been playing well there. Don't get us wrong, but
I think he's played there before with. When he was coming through the Arsenal academy, I think he was touted as a potential out and out winger, but as he's regressed, he's kind of developed, even not regressed. He's become more of a centre midfielder.
But he is quick though. He doesn't look quick, but he has got some pace in him. He can run past players.
Oh, it's the long stride, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think where's Maxi? I think Maxi's a fan's favourite. He's a game changer. I don't know. Maybe you just use them both.
What I'm saying is though is for Maxi to get into starting 11, someone's obviously got to come out.
Yeah.
And do you think Joe Willock feels like it's going to be him because Joe Linton's obviously really strong in the team. Bruno's there, and then it's kind of like Longstaff and Willock fighting for their place if Maxi's coming in, because they'll just move Joe Linton into the centre and Maxi goes on the left.
Yeah, I get what
maybe the pressure's getting to him a little bit.
Willock and Longstaff, you can't compare them as like for like. I don't feel like
no.
You've got Longstaff does more sort of the dirty work than what Willock will necessarily offer. Exactly. He's. I mean, he's not flashy, but I think he has started to establish it.
Get back to what we've seen under Rafa.
Exactly. He rifled that one in the friendly, didn't he?
That was a good finish, a really good finish.
Oh, he's had that in his game for a while.
A big part of Willock, though, is that when Joe Linton moves out of centre mid, I think we'll miss him. It's not the fact that Willock's playing bad or whatever. I think when Joe Linton's not in the centre of midfield, I think we'll miss him. Yeah. I think we'll miss his physicality and his driving runs, and he's just a bastard. He must be horrible to play against.
His break-up play.
Yeah, just everything about him. He's just great to have in there. And then he does break forward like Willock does.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I feel like he can do what Willock does going forward, breaking and striding forward with the ball. But he's got that other side to his game as well, where he can just do, as you said, all the dirty work at the same time.
I think it could be a thing is that Willock and Maxi they can play in the same position, but they are two completely different players. Obviously, Willock will drive, you get a little dig, and he's still driving on, he's still going. Maxi will go down, look for the foul. So, obviously, Maxi's got the skills and the pace. Willock's got a bit of pace, but Willock's a lot more physical, a lot more physical. You'll get stuck in. And you'll fight, whereas Maxi would rather go down, I think, and look for the foul.
But also on the other side of the ball, Maxi doesn't chase men down. He doesn't pressurise people.
Say,
100%.
He was getting a bit of stick when he came on, Maxi, for just that, the laziness side of it. He just seems to hover around that left side, attacking the left area, but never seems to track back, and never really puts pressure on. It's just kind of wait for it to just come to him, and then obviously goes and does a magical run. Something
controversial. Do you think the more we play without Maxi, the less important he's becoming? Because I do.
Well, yeah, with the form of being on while he's been injured, you can't really argue that we need him, can you?
Noticing, the less reliant we are on him to do something. Don't get us wrong, he can pull some magic out of a hat all the time. He can change a game. He can do stuff like that. But the way we're obviously with him being injured and the way we've been playing, I'm thinking, are you actually as important as we all thought you were? Not in a horrible way, because he is important, but do you know what I mean? Everyone's fucking hell. Maxi got injured, it's fuck, what we're going to do? Maxi's injured, we're fucked, yeah. But now it's
that's a great thing though, isn't it? He was basically all we had.
Yeah.
Especially before the takeover and stuff. And he dragged us.
Rely on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we don't have to rely on him, which is great. But I think he liked that, didn't he? Maybe
showman, isn't he?
He's had to adjust to the But if you look back to the Man City game and stuff before he got injured, he was unreal. So whether we would have,
it's just something it's just something that I've thought of just with obviously since he's been injured and we've been flying. Really, the football we've been playing is fantastic.
Well, it helps having the rise of Miggy on the other side, whereas before it was very lopsided in terms of we were getting all of the joy from Maxi, but not from Miggy. Now we're getting it from Miggy. Maxi needs to bring his levels up now to compete.
To be fair, when he came on against that Ray Vallecano, Maxi looked different. I think I said Maxi looked a different player. He was passing the ball, so I know they were shy, they were really bad, but Maxi looked a very different player in the way that he was passing it so much more. He could have went on so many runs, but he was passing it so much more than past games, which is obviously a plus sign because we all been screaming out for Maxi to get in their positions and just do that one pass, that important pass, instead of trying to take on the world. So I don't know. Maybe he's been working on that.
Well, I'd worry as well that with sort of these injuries he keeps getting, like, will he have to change as a player in terms of his explosiveness? Will that sort of like fall out of his game, and he has to be more like a traditional winger rather than driving forward? I don't know. Part of me thinks the reason why he doesn't track back and press as much is like, I don't know, something in the back of his mind is telling him like he needs to be careful and conserve some of that like energy and not be putting himself in risky positions where he could get injured again.
Well, when he picked up the injury in the first place, I think that was from tracking back on it. So he's probably like,
that's his
fuck that.
He's allergic to that
now. So next thing I've got written down is that the own goal. So obviously that's what ended up being the difference in the game, and it came from Trippier cross, which was one of his more normal crosses, an absolute peach. So can you remember how the own goal actually went in? Because I can't really remember. Was it off his head or did he slice it?
Off his head. He went to head it over the bar, didn't he?
So Wilson was challenging, wasn't he, for it? And then fullback Smith, he's headed it away, completely sliced it, his header, and then looked over the keeper, and then the Senesi, the defenders tried to clear it off the line and ended up just pretty much smashing into the back of the net. I think it went down as a Smith goal, rather than Senesi. But yeah, it wasn't pretty from a Bournemouth defender's point of view. But
the same thing
it was a great cross from Trippier.
The same thing nearly happened.
Did I?
Yeah.
15 minutes later or whatever it was. It's weird that.
Same player as well, Smith.
Was it the same player? Was it?
He just, he just seemed to just completely lose his bearings in that second half. Like, I think the inclusion of Maxi might have just scared him a little bit. I didn't actually recognise the ref. Whether or not he's a. Yeah, I think they might they do bring a few in the Carabao, but bloody hell, he was awful, man, shocking.
And then there's one thing I just wanted to mention, because every time I think about it, I chuckle. Is when I think Maxi gets whistled offside, and then they carry on playing. He passes it into Chris Wood. And rather than just stopping, he decides to I'll just smash it in, and then just fucking skies it.
No one in the crowd, or at least at my end, we didn't hear the whistle and we didn't see the offside flag till late. So we were all just thinking, "What the fuck has he done there?"
Rumour has it the Bournemouth fans took the fucking ball home.
His face after the camera goes on to him, and he's obviously trying to play it cool as if he's offside, you know what I mean? But you could tell he's oh shit. So Bournemouth had quite a few chances towards the end of the game. Paige, do you want to talk us through the one you were highlighting before?
It was. Yeah, not long after the Wood effort that was ruled offside, but they started to throw men forward towards the end, obviously looking to take it to pens, and put a decent ball to the back stick from the left, and we weren't really quite clear with getting rid of it, and then it popped up to, I think it was the fullback Jack Stacey who hits a really decent effort, which Pope has to get down low to, down to his left side, through quite a crowd of players as well. So it was a great save by Pope in the end. Kept his concentration because he hadn't really had much else to do in the game up until that point, apart from a couple of efforts. But that one he had to be really smart too. So yeah, credit to him.
Kept his sheet clean as well, didn't he? Alex, did you want to pick up on another one?
Yeah, it's the one that I had from it was like the edge of the right-hand side of our 18-yard box. There was a beautiful ball chipped in to the back post, and it was like in that area where Pope didn't know whether to come and try and get it or just to hold himself on the line. And I think it was Solanke that had the shot at the far post, which I think Pope saved and went up for a corner, but it was like real close range. So that was a shaky one as well, but once again, the bed's clean.
Yeah, we got through it with the own goal. One thing I did want to pick up on is Wilson in his post game said he felt rusty, not having played like proper football for a while. Obviously getting a few minutes with England and stuff, but he was saying it's not like we've been playing every few days, week in, week out. So he said he felt rusty, and I thought he had quite a good game, but he did have a few opportunities that maybe when he's fully in the swing of it, he would have got on target. And I thought that was just interesting because I feel like that was a theme throughout, especially the forward line, because there was some awry passing, and I don't know, we just didn't look as clinical as we were before the break. But hopefully that getting through that cup tie, especially with the team we started, the players who got minutes, should stand us in good stead when we're back in the Prem.
We'll 100% blow the cobwebs off that game, like, on it. I think we'll be back in full swing for Leicester. But I think we'll be sound. Like you said, they did go very defensive, Bournemouth as well. So I mean, any sniff we had, they were all over it. So I think it was hard for the attackers, but obviously we should have had a pen. Miggy should have finished his off. So I think the scoreline sort of flatters Bournemouth a bit, because I think it should have been
on another day. We could have got 3 or 4 probably. So we just weren't quite clicking.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one other point I was going to make and it's going to be a running theme I think through the rest of the season, is just how teams are targeting Bruno. And I felt Bournemouth targeted him for some rough treatment throughout the game, and you could tell he was getting frustrated by it, like just constant niggly fouls and like just pulling them back and chopping them down. He was definitely he's obviously our best player on the these days. So yeah, I just felt like that was something that I picked up on watching it, that more and more teams I think are going to start looking to get onto Bruno quicker and just slow him down from being able to dictate the play. And it was frustrating I think for Bruno, because I think on a day where he was given a bit more space and time, I think he would have probably made more of a difference in the game.
I thought we've seen that. Like he was the one who was just trying to make things take a little bit, like the amount of forward passes he was making through the lines, little cute passes where literally you've got to put the pass exactly where he does, otherwise the player's going to break down and they're going to counter. There's so many of those little ones where you just I was sitting watching thinking I've missed this, I've really missed watching him play, because I did think he had a good game.
Yeah, he did have a good game. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I think it was more just that had Bournemouth not been trying to target him as much as he was, and if we giving him a little bit more like protection or whatnot, he might have got you know, a
Another player
goal
who-
or an assist. Yeah.
I thought was class, who I haven't mentioned yet, Botman.
Oh,
Again,
yeah.
just in every aspect of the game, he was just like, he's imperious. He's like,
Yeah,
his long
quality,
passing, his
like,
short passing, and he's just so strong and like.
He's tackling, man. Like there was a moment where was it in the first half? Yeah, where they were making a move down the right hand side, and it was just a foot race between the attacker and Botman, and he kept up stride for stride, and then just came in with a perfect left footed tackle, like down towards the corner flag, but just completely like just one of them sort of tackles. You just love to see the crowd absolutely were going wild for it. Like
there was another one page where I don't know, it might be the one that you're talking about. I'm not sure, but the attacker sort of done him, or he mistimed his first challenge, and he swung his left foot back round and gathered the ball up, and just walked away with the ball. And I was thinking, how the fuck's he done that? Like someone like Dorsey, you just brought him up there because he's gone under the radar, and like. He does it so well.
He does no wrong.
You don't even notice, because he does fuck all wrong. You don't notice him being good because he's already fantastic. And it's what a player he. How on earth have we signed him apart from like away from all the top European clubs? Is nuts. Like absolutely for a fucking steal as well. By the way,
Still not lost a game when he's started.
No.
And his age as well.
He's only going to get better.
He's a minimum 7.5 out of 10 every game. Like for me, that's just how good he is.
He could be right. I know you were just saying alluding before that Bruno's our best player. He is fucking well up there. Like I understand that he can only do so much as a defender, but we could take him out the team, and we will realise how much we actually rely on Botman, like to fucking steady the show and clear it up at the back. He's well up there for one of our best players, like. But it goes unnoticed.
Yeah,
it goes unnoticed because he's a defender and because he's so simple at his job.
He's very good at his right foot as well.
You combine steady the ship and show up the defence, and you said steady the shore there. Just combine the two.
Steady the shore.
Steady the shore. He just steadies the shore for her.
Getting too excited.
I was sitting there thinking, like, that's not it. That's not how the saying goes.
Thanks for picking that up, mate.
So, who do you fancy for the next round then?
Who will want, or who do you think will get?
Well, give us either.
I'd take Southampton in the next round.
Yeah,
home or away. I think we could do them away.
It's just the travel, though, isn't it?
I wouldn't be so keen on Wolves away. And
I'm looking at Forest.
Yeah. Well, they're
drawn 1.5 time now.
Yeah, we were just saying before though, Blackburn. I'd rather Forest. I feel like Blackburn's potential banana skin. So
I think I'd agree with you.
Forest aren't really going to be going for the league.
I'd go Southampton for me as well.
Southampton. Yeah, we should roll them really.
Especially all that fight at the bottom of the table.
Yeah,
and
from what I've read,
they're not worried about that, are they?
No. From what I've read, they were pretty poor in that game against Lincoln as well. So
Lincoln went
I think we could have them.
Just a couple of minutes.
Che Adams had to rescue them, but
should have got a hat-trick as well.
Oh, that was awful. That effort, like for the hat-trick, was terrible. He should have squared it, but it was far too greedy.
Right, well, I think that wraps that one up, guys. So, if you're still listening this deep, please consider following the podcast or subscribing, hitting the notification bell. And if you're watching on YouTube, drop us a like, a review, or a comment. and join us in the next one where we'll be previewing the Premier League being back and going to Leicester. So,
Yeah, boy.
Tell me, mom.
I'll see you then, guys.
Wanna hear you go